And you are live.
Thank you. I'd like to call today's Finance Committee meeting to order. Would you please take a roll for us, please?
Sure. Regent Balducci.
Here.
Regent Gray Kemp.
Here.
Regent Jimenez.
Here.
Regent Ryan.
Here.
Regent Santiago. Absence is noted. And Professor Blitz.
Here.
Thank you. Regent Balducci, Chair Balducci, you have a quorum.
Thank you very much. First time, we would like to accept the minutes of the previous meeting of June 9th. Is there a motion to do so?
So move.
A second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Okay, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 action items and a couple of information items for today. The first action item is one I'm sure is of interest to many people, particularly those folks that are in management and confidential professional employees, and it deals with salary raises for this fiscal year beginning July 1, 2021. And Ben, would you like to go over that for us, please? And we'll open it up for discussion after we've done this.
Sure. Actually, I wouldn't mind. I prefer to defer to my boss on this one. So I'm going to turn it over to President Chang to introduce this item.
Thank you, Ben, and thank you, Chairman Balducci. Thank you to our regents and our board members who are here today. Today, CSCU is recommending pay increases of 3 to 5% for approximately 300 non-unionized and management staff, which make up less than 5% of our workforce. The total cost of this increase is approximately $1.5 million. Proposal provides greater increases to those at the bottom of the range and less to those at the top of the range. 5% for those making under $120,000 per year, 4% for those making $120,000 to $170,000 per year, and 3% for those making over $170,000 per year. Our non-unionized employees are valued members of the CSCU community, just as important to our operations as faculty and staff members. They have gone above and beyond during the COVID-19 pandemic to ensure our colleges and universities can open and operate safely. I know that this committee will receive an update about the challenging financial situation we find ourselves in today, which has been exacerbated by the continued effect of the pandemic on enrollment in particular. But I firmly believe that our non-union employees deserve this boost in compensation. In recognition that the realities of the system's finances, the increase we are recommending is less than non-union state counterparts. 3 to 5% increases for us versus the 7.5% received by our counterparts across the state. It is also important to note that union members received 11% cumulative raises plus a $2,000 bonus over the last 5 years under the 2017 CBAC agreement. The governor announced recently that he would provide raises of up to 7.5% to non-union managers, which in combination with the 3.5% provided to state managers in 2019 provided parity with unionized colleagues. Our proposed raise should also be considered as a way to partially make up for raises already provided to unionized employees at CSCU. In our case, non-union managers will have received between 6.5% and 8.5% over the 5-year period. So the proposal in front of you today, we believe, strikes a sensible balance while making clear the importance of our non-union employees. To all of the managers and non-union employees in our system, I want to personally say thank you. You have made innumerable contributions over the past 2 years. To all of the employees in the bargaining units, you are critical to the mission of our organization. Our bargaining teams are currently negotiating in good faith, and I'm confident that we will come to terms on a fair contract. The proposal today is a step forward toward fairness for our non-union employees who have been substantially outpaced in compensation increases by their unionized counterparts in recent years. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I ask for your support on this very important matter.
Thank you, Mr. President, and your comments are well taken, and the particularly last ones, they have been outnumbered and outpaced over the past several years. And I am not one that gives out money easily, but I think this one is well deserved. And I know we're still in negotiations for the unions, excuse me, and I hope that will come to a resolve in the very near future. Are there any comments by any members of the board on the proposal?
Blitz has his hand up.
What is?
Professor Blitz has his hand up.
David? I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry, David. Yes, I see the little indication that you wish to speak. Please go ahead.
I put my little hand up. I've learned how to do that. Took me 6 months. I'm not opposed to these raises. In any case, I don't have a vote. And I appreciate President Chang's explanation that we want to send a message to the administrative staff for the hard work that they've done under the difficult conditions of the pandemic. But I'm just wondering, am I the only one to perceive an inconsistency with the board's proposal to the AUP, which is not only a 0% increase, but a clawback to rescind the 2019 pay increase? And I'm just wondering, what is the message that we're sending to the faculty in that case? Or is there going to be a modification of the proposals? I realize this is not the place to discuss specifics of union proposals, but I have certainly had a number of faculty speak with me. And the message that they're getting very clearly from the proposals from the board to not only have a 0% increase for the next 4 years, but also to claw back and rescind the increase of 2019, that's not a particularly good message. So I wonder if we couldn't improve our communication. And that's the question that I'm asking.
Mr. Chair, may I respond to Dr. Blitz?
You may, Mr. President.
Thank you. Dr. Blitz, thank you for raising the question. As you noted, the specifics of any contract negotiations, these are details that we would not discuss in public because we are trying to negotiate in good faith and in confidence. But I will tell you that we are trying to do right by our non-unionized employees, and as previously stated, and with the agreement and understanding of our board members, our non-unionized employees have not received pay increases at the same rate as our unionized employees. And we continue to actually be a bit behind even the governor's more recent action. So I would disaggregate, in my personal humble opinion, I would disaggregate the two sets of actions going on right now. Bargaining is one thing, and our ability to continue to retain and ultimately attract and recruit new talent into our management ranks, which are essential to the efficient and effective operations of our campuses that ultimately do impact faculty, staff, and students as well. This is really a critical thing right now.
I would also, thank you, Mr. President. I would also comment that negotiations are going on, and those are not open for discussion here right now, as you know, and those will continue to go on. And the result will hopefully, we will see in the very near future. As far as our management folks, it's been said by the president, I alluded to it in previous discussions, that they had not been well cared for and had not been kept up to speed with other union contracts. And we're trying to do a little bit for them today so that they will feel confident and continue to work and feel that they're part of the workplace and part of the system, not an afterthought. Any other comments by members of the committee before we vote?
Excuse me, I believe Dr. Blitz is muted and he was making the final
I'm sorry,
comment.
I'm sorry, David. I keep looking and I see that little spot up in the corner. Yes, please go ahead, David.
Yeah, I concur with the message that you and President Cheng have sent to the administrative staff. And I was just asking a question, more for the record, I guess, about consistency of messages. But I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. And thank you for your comments, David, as always. Other members care to respond before we vote? If not, then I would ask, we have a motion on the floor.
No, you don't yet.
We don't, I would like to make the motion that we accept the proposal that President Chang has indicated and the resolution, adopt the resolution before us. Is there a second? On the motion. Joanne?
Joanne, is that a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing none, the motion is adopted, the resolution is adopted. Thank you very much. I'm sure those folks are going to be happy when they find out that they're going to be receiving a well-deserved raise. Moving on to the next item, we have its acceptance of the gift of the Northwest Community College bequest of the family at the request of Wendy Begansky and Ronald Begansky Memorial Scholarship Fund. Ben, you want to do a quick one on that one because we're familiar with it already?
Yes, the estate of Wendy Begansky provided a gift to Northwest Community College in the amount of $356,185.50. And we accepted that donation and provided it to the college. However, in evaluating the specific terms of the will of the Begansky estate and the the most effective way for us to honor those wishes, it was determined that the gift should be, instead of being accepted as a gift to the college itself, it should be transferred to the Northwest Connecticut Community College Foundation, which is statutorily authorized to accept these types of gifts and to administer them in the interests of the college. So this action will transfer that gift to the foundation so that it can be spent in accordance with the wishes of the Begansky estate to the benefit of Northwest.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Ben, and I think it's a very nice contribution. And are there any comments, Joanne?
Yes, I would like to make a comment. Thank you, Chairman Balducci. The college is very grateful to the late Wendy Begansky for her generous bequest to the college in memory of her husband. Ronald Begansky was the former chairman of the Northwest Community Bank and again, a tremendous supporter of Northwestern Connecticut Community College. The bequest came to the college and now needs to be transferred to the foundation, as you have suggested, so it can be invested for the purpose of creating student scholarships and program support into the newly named scholarship memorializing both Wendy and Ronald. These scholarships will go exclusively to support Northwestern Connecticut Community College students. So I'm strongly in favor of this, and on behalf of the entire Northwest community, we are so grateful for this.
Are you making a motion then to accept this?
That we move forward with this, as suggested, yes.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Thank you, Felice. Motion made in second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Resolution's adopted. Thank you. We have another resolution before us that deals with the accepting of the gifts of a gift for Nantucket and Tungus Community Colleges Advanced Manufacturing Programs. Ben?
Thank you. These are gifts from Richard and Marion Leonhardt of 6 Prototrack milling machines. Mr. Leonhardt is the former president of the company that manufactures these machine tools, and these would benefit the manufacturing programs at Nantucket and Tungus Community College. Their value is $164,000.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to adopt the resolution. Is there a second?
Second.
Joanne, thank you. Thank you for the second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The resolution's adopted. Thank you. And the last resolution we have before us under action items is acceptance of a gift for Gateway Community College, their automotive and technical problem. Ben?
Yes, this is a donation of a 2020 GMC SUV with a value of $7,752 from Northwest Hills Chevrolet Buick GMC Cadillac. And the Gateway Community College will use this for instruction within the college's automotive technology program.
$7,752. I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, David. Second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Chair Balducci, I think we have a hand raised. Professor Blitz, is your hand still up or is that left over from before?
I apologize. David, I'm not used to seeing that little hand in the corner.
Definitely left over. I learned
Okay.
how to raise my hand, but not how to lower it. So
That's month 7. It's okay. It takes us a while.
I'm learning, yes.
Thank you.
Did you want to comment, David?
No,
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm definitely in favor of these donations.
Any other further comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Resolution is adopted. Thank you very much, team. Now for the information items. The first information item before us is the financial update, which we'll be discussing again in October, but Ben has been kind enough to come up with some numbers to make us aware of what may be in store for us as we move forward in this fiscal year.
Thank you, Chairman Balducci. In my career, I found that it's always best to deliver bad news early and to give people an opportunity to consider it. So while it is our intention to submit in an October cycle, which we've recently scheduled of this committee, some proposed actions to address the concerns I'm raising now, I thought it was helpful to identify the environment and some of the early information with respect to enrollment and how that impacts our budget for this year and for future years. There are a number of factors that we're monitoring closely and trying to develop solutions to address. But several significant items that I wanted to point out to you that are areas of significant concern for us from a budgetary standpoint across CSCU. The first of those is enrollment impacts. Obviously the census date for both colleges and universities is this week. And so we will have final numbers. There's a fair amount of movement in the enrollment numbers in the last 2 weeks before census. So we don't, this is not these are not final numbers. However, based on the enrollment as of September 3rd, which was the last time we do a progress report before census each year, if we project forward using the that information and the historical patterns for enrollment over the course of the year, we can project that there will be revenue shortfalls compared to budget as a result of diminished enrollment in the amount of approximately $18 million at the universities and $14 million at the colleges. I sincerely hope that those numbers turn out to be a little bit better than that, and that we have the late news is good, and there's certainly a possibility that that's the case, particularly in the colleges where there is a pattern of late enrollment generally. Those numbers include the impacts of housing and meal uptake within the universities as well, which in a couple cases are negative, a couple cases are on budget, or one case on budget and one case slightly positive. So that's the most significant impact that we have. In addition, there is some concern in the universities about early results on retirements. We've built in some, when an individual retires from state service, there are significant payouts that must be paid to them for accumulated leave. Not all, there's formulas, but for vacation and vacation time especially needs to be paid out. There were, I think, more retirements in September at the beginning of the school year than were anticipated at a couple of the universities. And so they are concerned that they may have under budgeted for funding for payouts, particularly if those payouts come late in the year. There's less time to make up for it with reduced salary payments. So we think that may be in the area of about $5 million. That is, again, there's a lot of uncertainty about that because we anticipate that most of the retirements will take place in April or June of 2022. But we saw a little bit more early activity at a few universities than we were anticipating, so that's an area of risk for us. And third, we've been notified by the state that the commitments that they've made to us to support student and faculty testing costs for COVID are from a funding source that turns into a pumpkin on December 31st. And they have not made any commitments beyond the fall semester to support testing. Now, we are hopeful, and we are exploring whether we can get additional funding from other sources at the state level, and we're also looking into getting reimbursement through FEMA and some other sources. So I'm hopeful that one will be resolved. However, prudence suggests that we should we should consider setting aside resources to ensure that we can support our testing program in the spring, regardless of the outcome of our various efforts to find a third-party payer. That number is approximately $1.5 million for the universities and $2.5 million for the colleges. It's very difficult to know. These are based on early figures for the amount of testing we have to do now and make some assumptions about the testing diminishing because we are hopeful that more people will become vaccinated and the required number of people who will require routine testing will go down. So there's a lot, again, and another area where there's a lot of uncertainty, but I felt better putting a number on it, and we'll see whether those numbers hold up. I hope they become much smaller as more people are vaccinated. So the total of this is about $40 million, $41 million of significant budget risks that we face this year. I know that that's a daunting challenge. So I will point out that we are developing strategies within each part of our system to address this. Within the universities, the university budget that was adopted in June included surplus operations, largely as a result of a late information about an increase in state assistance for fringe benefits at the universities. So we believe that a combination of spending adjustments at the universities that they would recommend and use of the sort of built-in surplus should be sufficient to address the current year challenges at the universities. Within the colleges, we don't have a built-in surplus of appropriate magnitude to cover this, However, we are looking into making adjustments within our the available HERF funds, the stimulus funds that we have, and looking at some other alternatives to try to close this gap for the current year. And I am relatively confident that we'll be able to provide a set of recommended actions that will address this deficiency, excuse me, in the current year. I will point out to you, though, that the budget already includes quite a bit of federal stimulus funds system-wide, including both the colleges and universities. The spending plan, as adopted, included use of $92 million of one-time federal stimulus funds. Those funds will not be available in fiscal 23. We may be able to, if there's a little bit left over, we might be able to carry some forward if the federal government gives us an extension. But those, as of our funding agreements from the federal government, expire in April and May and must be expended by that time of 22. So we are, we do face a significant cliff that we're going to have to find a solution to for the fiscal 23 budget. And that cliff may get a little larger if we redirect more of our stimulus funds to address the current year deficit, as I suspect we will do, or I will certainly be recommending that we do. So we, I guess the summary of this message is we have some significant risks. We have some short-term approaches that will allow us to deal with these, but our longer-term challenges are very significant. The longer-term solutions involve efforts to restore enrollment as quickly as possible. They include working with the state government to assist us in maintaining and perhaps even expanding the level of support that they have generously provided us for this fiscal year, as well as other spending items that we think are achievable for the upcoming year. I will tell you the amount of spending reductions that are possible to implement this late in the year for the current fiscal year is limited. We have challenges in making quick spending reductions once we have a cohort of students who are enrolled and classes running and institutions underway. So this is an update. I'm sorry I can't tell you specific solutions yet, but we're working now at each campus and in the system office to put together a plan that will address those concerns.
Thank you, Ben. And you and your team, I know, will be working on it. The point I just want to reiterate, which he made, and that is there are non-reoccurring funds. They're what we used to call one-shot dollars that terminate at the end of 2022. Those federal dollars we will not have as we move forward, so we're going to have to find some solutions as we do this. Thank you very much for that, Ben, that update. Any comments or questions to Ben about that by committee members?
I have a question, Mr. Chair.
Please, David.
Ben, thanks for that report. Is the revenue shortage attributed to declining enrollment? Is it in line with what we've experienced the past couple of years, or is it greater or lesser than the past couple of years?
Well, it is slightly less than what we saw last year. Last year was when we saw the significant impact from the pandemic. Last year, we dropped about 10% in the universities and about 17% in the colleges. This year, we budgeted for essentially flat enrollment at the universities and about 5% growth in the colleges. We were assuming that we were going to at least find the bottom, and in the case of the colleges, begin to see some people coming back coming back to school. Obviously, the late development of the Delta variant has made, I think, has really made it very difficult to see as much of that recovery as we would like. So the actual year-to-year numbers, we'll see once we get the census numbers. We're down in the universities and flat, slightly down in the colleges, but that's well below what we were budgeting for. So the declines were not as bad as last year, but clearly are not, they're pandemic related. A lot of the decline is relative to our budget, which assumed that we were at least stopping the rapid pandemic-related drops in enrollment. In the case of the colleges, we thought we might turn the corner a little bit. That has not happened. Everything is, down, 5 to 10% from where we had planned from a budget standpoint.
David?
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you. Any other comments? If not, we'll move on to the next.
One quick one. Sorry. This time I actually
Yes.
did raise my hand. And it's something that I asked at the last finance meeting. We were talking about one-time funds. And, in the PowerPoint presentation and in the finance report from the last meeting on guided pathways. I mean, what continually strikes me, and I'd like a clarification from Ben, is that, the HERF institutional funding for that guided pathways of $15 million expected in FY23 drops to zero in FY24. And there is this unusual category of revenue called pickup of funds of nearly $12 million for FY24, along with an estimated increase of tuition revenue of $18.5 million, which I think is highly speculative. And so I'm wondering, how is the funding for the ongoing hiring of the advisors in categories 1 and 2 and the lead campus advisors and the regional leads and et cetera, how is that going to be funded following FY23? It looks to me, when I look at the page, that there's $15 million missing of HERE funding, and there's $12 million in this pickup of funds category that I'm not aware of.
Well, to be honest, Professor Blitz, I do not have a firm, we clearly do not have the ability right now to fund all of our operations in fiscal 23. Unless we see an improvement in enrollment or a significant expansion of state or federal assistance for the colleges and universities in fiscal 23, we will have to make significant reductions in the scale and scope of the system. We will be short by double-digit percentages of revenue on a structural basis, and we'll have to make deep and painful reductions and adjustments to the scale of the services that we provide. The issue with the Guided Pathways advisors is absolutely one area of that uncertainty, but it is a minority of the problem. Most of the problem is that we do not have enough students enrolled to support the institutions that we are running beyond the current fiscal year. And so we need to find more resources from outside or generate more of our own resources through increased enrollment or changes in pricing strategy. There are other things we could do to develop more revenue. We either need to increase our own source revenue or get more money from outside, or we need to spend significantly less starting in fiscal 23 and going forward from there. So I appreciate what you're saying, that is an area of concern, but it is it's not the top three areas of concern in my view. The top three areas of concern are that we have that we are able to maintain accreditation and effective functioning through the merger of the colleges, that we are able to have sufficient enrollment to support our expenses, and that we have in the university sufficient housing and meal participation to again, to support our operations. So those are the big three. The Guided Pathways clearly is one of those areas, to my mind, because Guided Pathways uniquely has promise, and more than promise, is identified as one of the preeminently most likely ways to succeed at increasing enrollment, I think it is absolutely worth keeping that in our, maintaining the plan on implementing guided pathways, simply because it has the promise to produce additional enrollment. I certainly am very interested in alternative approaches to rebuilding enrollment that would be proposed by this committee or other members of the CSCU community, because that is something of burning interest to me and to, I think, all of us over the next 24 months.
Let me just add a point. You know, at this point, I've been looking at the weekly announcements for hiring. The system is hiring a total of 78 advisors at this point. That is far larger than the sum total of all other positions that are being offered at this time. And I wonder if that is advisable, given the uncertainties for the future funding of those positions. I mean, I understand the importance of advising, but you're not going to have immediately hiring 78 people, and all of those 78 people are going to be down at work accomplishing the kind of increases in tuition revenue through retention that have been projected in the budget figures. So that's my first point. And secondly, I think you're probably underestimating the number of faculty who will be retiring at the universities. Given the climate, and that's the COVID-19 issue, the CBAC 2022 agreement changes, and the issue which we discussed earlier in the meeting, my indication is that you'll find a larger percentage or a larger number of faculty leaving in 2022 than you might expect. Now, that might be, from a financial point of view, good news if they're not replaced. But certainly you bring up the issue of the sick pay benefits and so forth that have to be paid out. But that's a guesstimate on my part.
Yeah, thank you, David, for that. And just going back, you know, the advisors, you know, I won't say it's a crapshoot kind of thing, but it's something we have to do in order to take an opportunity to hopefully do what's necessary. It's not going to happen without them. I think we need them. I think we have to move forward in that direction, and spending the dollars right now seems like the right thing to do as we take on the COVID increases, et cetera, faculty retirements, et cetera, increases in all costs across the board, et cetera. So, you know, with the negotiations that are going on, and so on. So it's something I think we're moving forward with. I think we've got I think we're taking the right direction on this, and hopefully we won't be proven wrong on that. President Chang?
Thank you, Chairman. And I want to respond to Dr. Blitz as well. I'll pick up on something that the chairman just noted, which is the importance of hiring these advisors. You know, understandably, I've heard this argument before. If we are facing a fiscal situation that is challenging, then why are we hiring? I guess, you know, another way of looking at that is to say, what happens if we don't hire these students? Don't hire these advisors? What happens to the students if we don't hire these advisors? If we look at our success, completion, academic momentum rates, especially at the colleges, I would be deeply fearful of the result if we do not bring more resources to bear to support students. And the other thing I would kind of point out there too as well is that, you know, trying to calibrate our fiscal situation according to what may or may not happen with retirements. We all know this is incredibly difficult, right? And I think our team has done the best job that it can, and I think our campuses, you know, each administration, every campus is doing the same thing. So I would just be mindful as we have this discussion that you know, the system office and all of the administrative offices at every campus, we have to be very careful, because if we overestimate, we could be in an even deeper financial peril And so if we are inaccurate because we are underestimating, that at least gives us a little bit of leeway or latitude. So, you know, the last point I'll make on this is if there is evidence, Dr. Blitz, that you can bring to bear for the committee's purposes or for any of our administrative deliberations that could help us to be sharper and more accurate in our conversations, we would be very, very keen to see that because that would help us do our jobs. But as of right now, without concrete evidence, we have to be a tad conservative or else it will seem reckless to be overestimating in that space. Thank you.
Other comments? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ben. Thank you for everybody's participation in that issue. I would like to say we can't wait until the October meeting to find out the new numbers, et cetera, and hopefully they're in better shape than they are at the present time. But we'll get another update, which will be much more accurate with proposals by Ben and his team at that time. Moving along to the next item, the semi-annual report on capital projects. Keith, appreciate it. Nice to see you, Keith.
Hi, everybody. Semi-annually, we report to you on our CSCU 2020 program, which was the primary bond fund source for the universities as of FY09. As of last year, we did exhaust all our funds as far as what would be received from the state. So we're just spending old funds at this point in time. This program did fund in FY15 and a small project in FY16, funds for the community college. We're finishing the last project for the community college right now, which is an advanced manufacturing facility at Spring Lane that will be complete in 6 months. Of the $1,069 million of funding, we've committed $944 million to date, and of those funds, we've expended $873 million. This is an expenditure of, over the past year since I reported to you, of $71 million. There's about $150 million, actually about $190 million left on the program. Much of those funds remain outstanding to current projects or pending on current projects. A $16 million addition to Burritt Library at Central that's in design right now. There's $30 million of expenditures still to occur for a new engineering building at Central. The building is about half the funds are expended already, and the building will open in about 6 months. At Southern, we're just breaking ground for a $50 million new business school. And we also have our Health and Human Services facility. It's about a $64 million project, and we've spent about half of those funds to date. That project will also be completed in about 6 months. And of the remaining funds, we'll spend those down, and it'll probably take about 3 years to spend those down. We'll spend about $150 million on our large projects and miscellaneous smaller projects over the next year and each of the following 2 years, closing out the major projects and drawing down the remainder of our funds of about $20 million a year. That will exhaust that program. Be completely at that point in time on new bond funds for the universities. If there are any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
As always, thank you, Keith, for your job. Well done, and for the update. Last item we have before us deals with the Executive Committee's action dealing with the Gateway Community College gift, which is really a clarification. And Ben, would you just go over that resolution for us?
Sure.
Which does not need action, by the way. It's already been taken by the Executive Committee. This is just an update for members.
Correct. The Executive Committee is empowered to act when time is of the essence to in lieu of the full board on some certain matters, including at their most recent meeting in August, they approved the acceptance of a gift at Gateway Community College of another Chevrolet. This one was an Equinox that was donated to the community college by General Motors Corporation. They needed to consummate that transaction quickly in order to meet the requirements of the donor. So that was acted upon by the executive committee, and we just report on it to you today.
Thank you. Before we adjourn and I take questions, I would just like to thank you, President Chang, for attending our Finance Committee meeting. Very nice to have you here with this outstanding group of men and women. With that, are there any other comments? I would make one other one. Hopefully, in October, we will be able to do this live at your wish, of course. If you prefer to continue from your home or your office, we respect that. But we'd like to start moving in the direction of bringing this committee back to its full meeting room here at the facility at 61 Woodland Street. So I just put that in the back of your mind. We'll head in that direction. For those of you that are able to be here, we're going to look forward to it. I plan on being here because it's much better for me doing it this way rather than having to use my own computer or a laptop to attend meetings. With that, any other comments? I see you laughing, Felice. You know how bad I am, don't you? Any other
I am
comments?
supporting you in every way.
My committee members before we adjourn?
Will you be providing
sorry?
coffee? Will you be
I will
providing
provide the coffee. Yes, I
Yes,
will,
all
David.
right. That will
I'll
be
do that. And the donuts. How's that? For no further business to come before the committee, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you, Joanne. A second. Thank you,
Second.
Felice. I appreciate that. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned. Thank you all. Have a great day.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you.